What's up, everyone? It's KB, and I love movies. Welcome back. It's been a while since we've had a conversation. I was thinking about this the other day. I think was Allie and Anthony on Valentine's Day actually the last conversation I had. It's been a minute, so I wanted to come back and I wanted to bring someone new, but that wasn't enough. If you remember the Q&A I had last year, I said in the new year I want to make more of a dedication to I love my YouTubers, I love my Instagrammers, but I want to expand from that. I want to bring in more people who are film lovers. And in this case, we have someone who's not only a film lover, but it goes a lot deeper than that. So I want to explore outside of our normal circles of Instagram and YouTube. And I think we're going to do that tonight. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's good to see everyone. Keep pouring in, keep coming in the chat, leave your questions, all that good stuff. We have questions anyway for her, but tonight's conversation is with an award-winning multi-hyphenate actor, creator, filmmaker, who just founded her Webby honoree production company, GTE Productions, which I know the real meaning behind that now, at the age of 21. Like, she became a producer at 21. If she could do it, you could do it too. And she's had her films play at some of the top festivals out there, South by Southwest, Cannes, things like that. You could find her stuff on Amazon, on Apple. If you're in Canada, you could go by CBC Gem. All these different produced and acted in a film for Lionsgate called Scrambled, which world premiered at South by Southwest. And she's been called the youngest executive producer in Hollywood. We'll get to that. And I just want to bring in the very charming Mariah Owen. Hello, my friend.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked to be here.
Yeah, I was trying to remember how I first came across you. And I think it was my friend Katie over at Poppin' the Popcorn. And then I'm like, I don't remember, but it's not important because you're here now.
I'm here.
And we're going to get into everything behind who you are, how you actually represent yourself in the industry as a filmmaker. I'll just say as a creator. We like using that term these days, content creators, film creators, because it's so multifaceted these days. So we'll just leave it at that. But I wish I could play the beginning of Molly's game because apparently that's where I first saw you.
Yep.
Wow. Start off with that. Tell people where they could find you in that movie.
I mean, I had a very similar haircut. I had platinum blonde hair with bangs. And I got to ski in the movie and do some SSE, which is special skills extra. And I grew up as a ski racer. So I was like, hey, I get to ski and I get to be in a movie. I'm down. And it's the opening scene. I haven't watched it in so long. I don't even know if you can even see me. So
yeah.
But it was pretty cool. It was a cool experience. And that was my first time being on a gargantuan set. And I love Aaron Sorkin. And this is so embarrassing, but anyone who loves movies will understand. I was like, this is my chance to tell him how great he is. And I didn't want to be weird, but we were in this big scene and I was like, you're awesome. It's all I could say. Not like, thank you for creating these films and, that have changed our generation. Blah, none of that. All I blabbered out was like, you're awesome. And he stopped and he turned and he gave me the cookie that he had. And it sounds so stalkery, but I held this cookie as if it was the gold medal from the Olympics. It was or an Oscar. But that opportunity really inspired me for how he operated his set and ran his set. And I watched him speak to people and I was like, wow, he's at the top of the game and he treats people really well. And I really valued the way that he spoke to his crew because I've definitely seen some directors of all genders behave differently. So it was really cool.
We are not alone. So I want to take a minute and see who's in the chat. Shout out to anyone who's watching on the replay, lurking. We welcome you all. Let's see who's joining us in the chat, though. We have Adrian James. What's up, my friend? Adrian is over in the UK, so early good morning to you, sir.
Very cool.
We have the monkey. He loves doing intros for me, and he has this to the Queen of Webfest, LANTO, who's the
Oh
best
my God, I
waitress in
forgot about
Gotham.
that. I love
Oh
it.
my God, so much right. That kind of trauma can turn you into a plant or animal, and he sends you a happy early 30th birthday.
Oh my God, thank
It
you
is
so much,
May.
Monkey. That I wish I could reach through the screen and hug you right now. That is so thoughtful. I'm
Yeah.
blushing. Thank you. That is so sweet. Yeah.
Yes, and end of this month, but happy early birthday to you.
Thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you to you and the monkey.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Usually when we see Adrian James, we see Hall and Oates. So he says hi.
Hello.
We got debut with Drew saying what's up.
Hey, what's up?
We got my friend Corey here, Wilkie's Movies and Music on the check-in.
Hi.
We got another Canadian in the house. What's up, T? We got Tiana Loves Movies saying hey.
Love Canadians.
Yep. I'm representing for the T dot here. I have two friends. My Canadian BFF is her name is Melissa, and her husband Eric. He has a channel called Zombie Daddy Films. So they were actually down here a few weeks ago. They went to Panic Fest. I don't know. There's my badge. So,
very cool. I see it. Neat. Is that a horror festival?
Yeah, mostly horror, but also sci-fi thrillers. So
Yeah.
if you have something next year you want to get in along those lines, I know people. So
well, there you go. I think Panic Film Fest is so cool. I just want to go because of the name. So now I have to make something so I can go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Get something on there. So yeah, it was good to see them, and I had to represent for the Leafs because, like I said before, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Anything Boston sports, I'm against it.
There you go.
Have Peter Will View. What's up? We got Michael here saying hey.
Hello.
Other people pouring in saying hey to each other. We got Mika in the house, double feature podcast. They're twins.
So
Mika
cool.
and Kira. And they two ladies who love horror movies. Really good sisters. So we got Prince on the check-in, the happy optimist. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Yeah, more people. We got Caveman in here saying hey. Remind everyone to hit that like and subscribe. Thank you, sir. Hope you're doing well. And Miss Caveman as well. We got Jeff, John Doe Juggalo saying good evening to you, sir. As everyone keeps pouring in, I'll keep popping them up. But we want to get started. So I always like to do an icebreaker to get things started. I have two for you.
Okay.
Because I couldn't decide on which one. So one is a little endearing and the other one is just like straight up. How's the baby?
She is perfect. She's over here. She's not quite a baby anymore. She's 90 pounds. My best friend and my baby girl, and she just dropped her bone because she knows I'm talking about her.
Yeah.
She's look at these photos. These are awesome. Yeah, she goes everywhere with me. We just did a big road trip, and I'm lucky. She's great. Yeah. How can you ever say no to that face?
No. She would get all the bones.
Yeah, she does. It's true. But yeah, she's great. She goes everywhere, and she's been on a bunch of sets, and she's walked the red carpet. So she's my sidekick for sure.
Yes, and her name is
Mammoth.
Mammoth,
like Mammoth Mountain, and she's been to Mammoth Film Festival too. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the personal stuff out the way. So, you could follow Mariah. You could see her at there. You could follow her many places, but one of the places I follow you is Instagram. And you put up something the other day, and I have to say it stayed with me. It was just a shot of a swimming pool, probably wherever you were staying, whatever Airbnb or whatever. And you said, I heard someone say, if you look at the people in your circle and you're not inspired, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. And then you said, and I cannot unhear it. So my question to get us started is, who are one or two people in your circle who inspire you and why?
Wow, I'm very, very lucky. I love that quote. I don't know who originally said it. I wish I could take full credit for it, but I can't. Mm-hmm. I'm really lucky. I have a really great group around me. I mean, obviously I'm lucky to have great parents. I think they're watching. So hi, mom and dad. But also in terms of my home team is really what I call it. You know, I grew up in sports, and I think having teammates in your life, whether those are your friends or if you're lucky enough to have them as your family as well. And this past year has really been about like tightening the circle a little bit, because kind of looking around and being like, okay, is it a circle? Is it a cage? You know, do I feel depleted? And so I feel really, really lucky. Like my closest friends are actually not within our industry, which is a little bit weird, but I think it also helps me stay balanced. You know, one of my best friends, her name's Kirsten. She's going to jump on shortly. She's teaching a yoga class. But she, you know, she's going to school to be a psychologist, and we've been best friends since we were 3 years old. And, you know, through every stage of life, she's been there. And I think it's so easy to get, you know, caught up in this industry and in this world. And my friend Alexis, one of my best friends, you know, I've known her since I was 12. Same with my best friend Hillary. Like, I'm really lucky the people that I have in my life who keep me grounded, support me. And I'm lucky. I have a lot of really good people in my life. So even just to dwindle it down to those three, I'm like, you know. There's so many. I'm very, very, very fortunate. And I think it's also, you know, it's come with getting really selective, you know?
Yeah. We just mentioned you're about to turn 30, and I think it took me until almost 40 to realize that I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of associates and a lot of acquaintances.
Totally.
But the friends are the people, like even my cousin who lives in Florida is a friend, because we could not speak for 8 months, 9 months. And then we get on the phone and we pick up where we left off. There's no animosity. There's no, you don't call anybody. There's none of that. There's just like, oh my gosh, what are you watching now? What are you listening to?
Totally.
You know, that's we just vibe in that way. And I think you don't need a lot of friends as you get older. I think you need true friends, people that will tell you how it is, not even people with the same interests.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And even that realization, like I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. And I think understanding the difference in that, because as you age, you're like, oh, like I might, you know, bend over backwards and help so-and-so, but would they do that for me? And not that you should be keeping score. You shouldn't. Right. But I think you kind of start looking at it and you're like, if I'm always feeling like my levels of energy are subterranean after hanging out with somebody, that's probably not someone I should spend my time with. And I think it's just been that, you know,
they just suck all the energy from you. And you get nothing in return, like not even some joy from hanging out with them or whatever.
And even just like if you have to conceal your wins, you know, or your sadness from a friend, that's not a real friend. You know. And so I feel very lucky. I'm very grateful for the people in my life.
And then what you posted today was also true, like about just validation. And what do you value? I think that's so important. So important. So keep having these revelations in your life. It helps.
Thank you. I'll keep posting them. I'll overshare on Instagram.
Yeah, please do. You're inspiring others without even knowing it. Let's see who else hopped in the chat. Mariah is the best. Such a talented artist. Look at that. Showing you some love. Get those flowers. Can't say no to that face. Love the no, you cannot.
It's true.
She is beautiful.
Yeah.
We said no after she said, how can you say no to that face? No, you can't.
You can't.
Yeah. Michael works in the industry.
Amazing.
He works out in LA, has 1 million signatures. You know, he's into that.
Awesome.
You just gained a new follower. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
There you go. So true about ensuring you have the right circle of people around you, those who value, support you, uplift you. Facts. We got Sarah on the check-in. Mariah, my hero.
Oh, I love Sarah. Sarah and I are going to be doing a lot of fun stuff together coming up. So I'm very, very excited. She's an awesome producer as well.
Still not getting it. It's hard. It really is.
It's hard, but I also would just say, like, everyone throws the age card out. And I know it's hard for me to say that, to be like, oh, I'm almost 30. And like, you know, the age, because obviously my age is in the back of my mind, but I also got to start earlier. So I would just take the age out of it and be like, what do I want to do? Where's the finish line for me? Or where's the goalpost? And then just start making strides to your own goalpost versus where people tell you should be. Hopefully that helps. I know that's advice you didn't ask for, but if you're not getting anywhere, move your goalpost.
I mean, I tell my kids all the time, I was like, there's no formula for life. You know, you can't look at your parents and say, you were married by this age. I
Yeah.
should know it. Everyone has their own path to walk for sure.
Yeah.
We got Kelly checking in saying, "Hi, Mariah from Beaton. You're
Hello,
in." I think
hello.
it was supposed to say inspiration,
Okay.
but if you're an inspector as well,
There you go. I could be an inspection. Hey, I could be an inspiration. Who knows? Hi,
there you
Kelly.
go. I'm putting aside questions. We have a couple of questions. I'm gonna put them aside until we get to the questions.
Yep.
We got my man Laren on the check-in saying good evening. Good evening to you, sir. Always good to see you. Let's see. People saying hi to each other. Ba 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 ba. All right. So we're going
Woohoo.
to do this by starting off with what I'd like to call the five before the five. It's going to
Okay.
end up being more than five, but you gotta have a catch. Gotta have
Okay.
a catch. So we're going to start off with the first question. So my first question is, as I'm starting to have more people who have something to do with the film industry, I think a lot of us are physical media collectors, and that won't be the last time I say that tonight.
Yep.
But I think just as film watchers, sometimes we see things in credits or we make assumptions like, why did they put out a 4K? Why they only put out a Blu-ray? So
Yeah.
with that in mind, what is the role of a producer or an executive producer
Right.
past what most people assume?
For sure. So a producer is a very broad term that can mean so many different things. And how I said earlier, I'm a retired athlete, so I relate a lot of my stuff back to sports. And the easiest way for me to break down what a producer is to relate it to sports. So I look at the athletes on a team to be the actors, the coach to be the director, the agent to be the parents of the athletes, and a producer is like the team manager or team owner. So you are responsible for everything from making sure, your athletes and your coach show up on time and they have paid their proper fees so that they can go play in the arena, the movie, to dealing with the parents, the agents, and everything in between. So you are with the project or the team start to finish. And that's really been my personal experience. I would say even when I'm an executive producer, I'm still creatively producing and on the ground, boots on the ground. I've never really been good at being like a hands-off EP who just like signs something or like signs my name. Maybe when I get older, I'll be like that. But for now, I love making movies, and I feel really lucky that I get to do it. And I've been, I honestly feel like I've been blessed with the people I've got to work with. So that makes it a lot easier. But there's so many different types of producing. I've been a marketing producer. I've been an executive producer, a regular producer, a co-producer, all of these titles. So when you see producer, I would think like the best way to kind of break it down is to be like, oh, they had a hand. And depending on their credit, you can tell how big the hand was in making the project come to life.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Not one of the five questions, but just looking, IMDb is probably the best place to find out all your credits. Yes or no?
Yep. There's a lot. Yeah. And for narrative, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So acting came first?
It did. So I actually started my first job ever. I was 2.5 days old and it was modeling. So I modeled for a long time and then I got into acting and then I got into writing and then back into producing, started my company and then into directing.
Yeah.
So any of those four.
I know we have some superhero fans in here, so I'll go this direction next. How is it tackling and creating an original film, an origin film at that, for a DC character?
Yeah, but Leah McKendrick and I, who's a frequent collaborator of mine, we co-created Pamela and Ivy. It's a Poison Ivy origin story. And that was really exciting. And I think, Leah writing this and both being a character that we really, really love, obviously wanting to do right by the character, but it's also, I don't know if I would ever recommend to anybody to create a story based on a character you don't have the rights for. So that was made it really difficult. But that project for us, it was just her and I were the decision makers, which was a really great experience. It was really a tough experience, in terms of being like, okay, we don't have anyone, pardon my language, but like when the oh shits happen, like we have to figure it out. There's no other producer or another executive producer. And so I think that was a really pivotal moment for me in my career where I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And obviously making sure when you're creating something that already has a pre-existing fan base, you are doing right by the fans, which we don't always see in adaptation.
Right. I think you see the difference. I don't care if it's a big blockbuster budget or if it's something independent. You see the difference in the creators and what types of fans they are. If it's just like somebody handed you a script and you're like, oh, okay, here's my chance to do something big budget, or if you're like how you two were and grew up, nearby and going to comic book stores and, being real fans of not only the genre as far as reading and, being a hobby, but also of the character itself and wanting to tell an origin story. And I think for a while there, we had that trend of like, let's tell the villain story, the Maleficents and, Cruella and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I think this was a very interesting and exciting opportunity from what I've seen.
Thank you. And I think it's interesting because, our tagline is every villain has an origin story. And I think it's true. And I think that oftentimes these, I would say like Poison Ivy is obviously a gigantic pillar within the DC world, but also a lot of people's favorite villain, and wanting to do right by her as a villain and not just being crazy, because I feel like we in these, especially in comic books, and I grew up reading comic books, like the women who are our villains in comic books were crazy and no one knew why, versus we were like, okay, there's an origin story to that. And it's not that she, fell into a massive container of chemical waste or, born special. It's like, no, there's like there's an inciting event that can happen. And obviously there's something mystical and magical and whatever. But like, I think just looking at that and being like, okay, there's so much more to our villain's origin, especially as women, that's them being crazy.
Yeah. And this is a good time to bring up Monkey's question. Do you feel the Pamela and Ivy characters, I guess, is supposed to represent Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and even Batman having dissociated
identity disorder?
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I'm reading it and I'm like, those are not the words in the DSM. No.
The DSM-5.
Yeah.
No, that's a really great question. And I think that like, if Leah was on here, we could sidebar and chat together. But I think that, our Pamela and Ivy, really was identified and reflective of Poison Ivy. But I also think that, every single character within the DC universe has a lot to explore in regards to mental health. Yeah. We're looking at all of these double lives that all of these characters are living and the stresses that are put on them. It would be really interesting to see if there was a cool way to do that in a mainstream media, whether it's a platform or TV, animation, whatever, where we could explore those potential opportunities.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. I mean, just the duality of their characters, whether it's having a secret identity or whatever, it's almost like, I'm sure we're talking about them like they're real people, but
but to us they are. I'm a fan.
They are, but it's almost like I'm sure they get more comfortable in one role versus the other,
right?
Kind of like how undercover police officer might get comfortable in that undercover role versus their real life. So
totally, yeah, you have to immerse yourself.
Yeah. Keep the questions coming in, we will get to them. Let's see. Cheetah says, thank you for supporting this interview. Please share it out. Yes, please. And Cheetah, even afterwards, share it out. We want as many people to like and comment this and share the goodness that Mariah is doing out there. So for sure. MFA.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, tell them what it's about.
So MFA is a vigilante thriller about campus rape. We filmed it in 2016, before the Me Too movement. We premiered at South by Southwest in 2017. It was the first feature I ever got to work on, produce, and act in. And it felt like my film school. It's Leah McKendrick, my frequent collaborator again. She wrote MFA. It was directed by Natalia Lette, and it stars Francesca Eastwood. And we then came out October 2017, and we're in theaters. And we're called the first movie to speak to the Me Too movement. by the New York Times, the Millennial Dirty Harry by the LA Times. It was a really, really cool film to be a part of because it became so much bigger than I think any of us thought it would be when we first became involved with the project. And when I think back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I was 21 turning 22 when we started working on it.
Yeah.
And I, you know, 8 years. It's been 8 years, and that film felt like my first like foray into film school because I didn't go to film school. And while I've been in and around the industry, that was like dropping me both feet in, no floaties into the deep end, you know?
Yeah.
And I learned a lot, and I feel really lucky because a lot of the people that are very prevalent in my life stemmed from that movie.
Yeah. I bring that one up versus all the other things because it is your first feature and your role in it and getting involved in everything. But the question here that I have for you is, I know the importance of risk-taking and expressionism in any kind of art. There's truth and there's vulnerability behind it. But what has been like, and your things have covered everything, like you said, from campus rape to fertility to all different types of issues. And the question from that is, what has been the hardest and also the most rewarding things about tackling these various subjects and the risk taking that it involves?
That's a really great question. I think I've definitely been exploring that with my next project. It's not announced yet, but it's very, very, very difficult subject matter. It's somehow even more difficult than MFA. I think the biggest difficulty is ensuring that you are creating an educational and realistic approach and experience for people who are watching it to understand, you know, what's happening with the subject matter and not glorifying it, not romanticizing it. And then also like I think the biggest thing is, you know, it's so difficult, but walking that line between being educational and starting a conversation and being entertaining and engaging and finding a way to be respectful of both of those things, because a lot of the topics that I've highlighted in my films or we've highlighted at GTE, you know, they're very serious, like you said. And the most important thing is being respectful to the people who have experiences with those subject matters and, you know, doing our best to do right by them. And also to be, it sounds awful, but be engaging enough to have the people who don't have that experience to watch our content and then maybe think differently and go home and be like, oh, I never thought about it like that, or start a conversation. You know, like a film I did during COVID, I directed, wrote, produced, and starred. It's a short, but it was bought by CBC, Disconnected. I just wanted people to start having different conversations. And I felt like during COVID, it was so difficult for it was difficult for all of us, but you know, everyone was like, when it was just the 2 weeks, people were like, learn a new skill in the 2 weeks, you know, so you can
Sourdough bread.
You know, if you don't come back out of this pandemic with 80,000 new skills and a six-pack abs, it's all your fault. And I'm like, that's not true. You know, it affects us in different ways. And so I made Disconnected really so that hopefully we would have a conversation or continue a conversation about mental health. But then from a secondary perspective as a filmmaker, thinking like, hey, I made this for very little money. You know, if you want to go out and make something, do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You met my my pandemic puppy earlier.
Yeah.
And he's really our mental health during that time. I mean,
totally.
We got him 2 or 3 weeks after lockdown started, and it was like, hey, we're gonna need time to train a pup. So don't wait till the end of the school year. If we're going to do it, let's do it now. And
True.
I mean, he is so chill. He has his old man moments, but you're right. You got to find those things that help your mental health more than anything. And I think there's a fine line between tackling hard subjects and being respectful. And from what I've seen, you've been able to walk that properly with your productions and your films overall. Something that's in the, I guess you want to call it, the popular space right now is this whole man versus bear thing that we see. Yeah. And I think the message has been lost just because people who the message is not meant for are taking it personally. and
Yeah.
then it's triggering others, which is always a possibility. I don't care if it's art or even a subject matter like this. And I
Yeah.
think the message that it was intended to reach, the audience that it was intended to reach, is totally lost.
Yeah.
Because everyone has taken it and spoked out into like all these different offshoots of things. And it's like, can we just get back to the message? You know, I went to the eye doctor this morning and the tech was female and there was another female tech with her. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I understand that. But at the same time, it's a sad state of affairs. But I
Yeah.
understand the need for it.
There is a need for it. And I think it's really difficult because there's a lot of crappy people out there, and a lot of people have made choices that have really negatively affected other people,
Yeah.
and are the impetus for us to have these protocols, which ultimately hopefully lead to people feeling more safe. But it's a sad state of affairs that we even have to be there, have those conversations, or say things that should just be basic knowledge.
Yeah. Two more questions before we get into the 5 takes. So
Yeah.
let's start to shift to something a little more fun than that topic. What is a movie that people would be shocked to find out you enjoy?
Sorry, Mammoth is answering some of these questions. I don't know if you can hear her or not. She's annoying. Okay, come here, buddy. Come here. I've spent all day with her. Okay, everybody. I want you to know
Not
this.
enough.
She's not neglected ever.
No.
But I love The Grinch. Jim Carrey's.
The Jim Carrey one.
Yep.
Okay.
I will not watch the one with Benedict Cumberbatch. It is, to me, sacrilegious. Why did you recreate The Grinch? That's so rude. But yeah, I love that movie. I feel like I love, honestly, if it came out between like mid 2000s, mid 90s, I'm born in 94. So I would say anything that came out from like 96 to 2006. I grew up on it and I loved it.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in the 5 takes. Yeah. I was like, I need something lighthearted here after that heavy subject matter.
Yep, for sure. So everyone knows it's The Grinch. I could cite the whole movie without it even playing.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So I know people always say what's next, but I'm going to say what's now, and then what's next in Mariah's world. We have. Oh no, I'll keep that for a bonus question. But go ahead. What's now? What's next?
What's now? What's next? That is our question right now.
Yeah.
So what's now? I am currently. I've been on this project for almost 4.5 years. It's called Gracie and Pedro: Pets to the Rescue. It's an animated kids movie. It'll come out in theaters in October. And it stars Brooke Shields, Susan Sarandon, Bill Nighy, Danny Trejo, Alicia Silverstone, and I grew up on Clueless, so I'm very excited. And I did all the service production. So it's an American project, came up to Toronto. We did all of the recording, and then all of the animation was done in South Africa. So it's been a very wild ride, and we are just kind of gearing up to start getting our release going and all of that. So I'm very much in the thick of that, as well as I've gone into development for a couple other projects that I can't talk about yet, but I'm very excited. And opening a couple divisions of my production company, so I guess it's kind of like what's next and what's now and what's next is expansion for me.
Nice.
Excited.
True. We have, like I mentioned before, we have physical media collectors in our midst here. Yeah. So any word on release for Scramble from Lionsgate?
So it's so interesting because as soon as you were talking about physical media, I love DVDs. I still have my family still have VCR players. We probably have everything. There's everything in there. I think my dad once said about a beta tape.
Betamax, yes.
Betamax. We have one of those.
For your time, I understand.
So physical stuff we have. But
well, you see. Behind me.
I love it and I appreciate it because it's true. Like if we lost internet, I can't watch Netflix. I don't even have a DVD player here. What am I going to do? And so it's interesting. We don't have a DVD release for Scrambled yet. Mm-hmm. We are available on Amazon and a bunch of other places on demand. So you can find us there, like Google Play, Amazon, Apple Store, all of that. And hopefully we might get one in the future, but you can definitely get MFA on DVD, Voice City. There's a couple of them of our projects that you can get physical copies of. But I'm with you. I love getting a DVD. I used to love going to Walmart and like, going through the bins.
I try to keep my desk clean, but right now I'm rewatching the Planet of the Apes movies because I'm gonna go and see the new one.
Very cool.
I was talking about. I also do a podcast, and I was talking about like TV adaptations that were actually good because The Fall Guy is one.
Yeah.
I brought up Charlie's Angels.
Very true.
So I have physical around me at all times, but I only mention that because I know Lionsgate is pretty good with putting out physical media. I mean, they do a lot of stuff, so
hopefully. And I mean, the one thing for me, I had this conversation with my dad a couple weeks ago. We watched Indiana Jones and a bunch of the Bond movies. Special features. Since we don't have DVDs, I don't get special features anymore.
All the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, like for people who are cinephiles, and like I want to know, like, I make movies, but I want to know how these movies were made, what they thought, like what I want to really get into the thick of it. So hopefully DVDs come back.
Hope so. I think people are learning that all these various streaming services end up being more than cable was that we try to move away to. So, and it's affecting box offices. Like The Fall Guy opened up below projection. It was supposed to project 30 to 35, which is still low for the first summer blockbuster, and open at 28.5.
I know.
But most people are saying they're screaming, I want original movies, but then they don't go and see them because they're going to wait for it to come on streaming. And it's kind of like people know the studio and they know which streaming service is going to get it. So it's really sad. It
is. And especially after the strikes too, and just looking at the different models. And I mean, I know one of the questions you're going to ask me in a little bit, so I'll save that. I'll save my answer for that when you ask me.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to the good stuff then. You ready to do 5 takes?
I am.
All right. Let's start with number 1.
Yep.
Name the film that made you fall in love with the movies. Movie maker.
I don't have one film in particular, but I have a few, if that's okay. I obviously said The Grinch. That was the first time when I was little. I saw a whole other world different than my own and thought, oh my gosh, for 90 minutes, I can exist in a different world. I thought that was really cool. I love Sunset Boulevard. I love, yep, it's true. I love The Blind Side. I love Forrest Gump. I love La La Land. I think I've always had a fascination and, definitely an affinity for old Hollywood. I think there's so much to explore there. And I think we just don't, as a society, both as filmmakers and as film lovers, we kind of are forgetting about film history, and so I'm so grateful to people. And what am I saying? I also love Casino. Casino is one of my favorite movies ever.
Goodfellas or Casino?
I mean, I have to say
one over the other.
I really love both. So here's my household. My parents are probably going to get so tired of me saying this in so many interviews, but I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons growing up. And then I went to Second City and became a comedy writer. So, So I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons when I was 7, but I was allowed to watch Goodfellas. And I think that explains my trajectory as a filmmaker immensely. So I really love Goodfellas. I love Casino. I could talk about Casino forever. I also really enjoy Vegas and Vegas history. So I think for me, there's so many different, I love so many different films. So I think for me, anytime that I've been able to be transported, whether it's to another place, another world, another decade, those are the films that resonate with me the most.
Yeah.
And like when I'm having a bad day or I'm really uninspired, I'll watch La La Land. Anyone can come at me for that, but
no, I think a lot of people take La La Land as a romance movie, and it's not a romance between a man and a woman. It's about falling in love with making it.
Yeah.
And they both, quote unquote, make it. But a lot of people like, this is not the way it's supposed to end. It's not that kind of a romance.
And it's real. It's
and I think it's a romance. It's kind of like the love affair, like you said, with old Hollywood.
Yeah.
Being on the set and all that stuff. So.
And just what you give up for a dream, and and the dream can change.
Yeah, many times.
So
many times.
I love
Good
that.
answer. Good answer. Great start. Yep. All right, let's get more into it with number 2. Name 5 of your favorite films, not the 5, 5 of, because
Oh, I
it's
feel like I just, but yeah. So we said Casino, we said The Grinch, we said Sunset Boulevard. I love Forrest Gump. I also I love Indiana Jones. I love Pirates of the Caribbean. There's very few films that I don't enjoy. I really enjoyed It Follows. I'm not a huge horror fan, believe it or not. Do you have it up there?
from the UK, because I'm a big physical media fan. I got this beautiful limited edition box set.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't even realize it came out with a box set like that.
So it has this freaking hardcover book.
Business. Yeah.
All about the movie, because I'm a kid who grew up in the 80s, so it's like, to me, that's the time for horror movies, and I feel like the 90s and the 2000s really fell off. And to me, this is one of the best modern horror movies out there. So
completely agree. And
so
thank you
happy
for
to get
showing
this.
me that. Yeah, thank you for showing me that. And I remember hearing about it when it first came out. Because when did it come out? Like 2016, 2017?
I want to say around there. Yeah.
Yeah, around then. And I remember the first time I watched it,
14.
The old apartment I lived in, it had a bunch of windows. So it was very well lit. And I watched it in the middle of the day because I'm such a chicken. And then I watched it again at night. And I was thinking about it both as, a viewer in the audience, but then also as a filmmaker. And I was like, this film is brilliant.
Yeah.
Single location, minimal, effects, and just a storyline that is so effortlessly plausible, in an elevated world. Like I thought that was brilliantly done. I think when it comes to horror specifically, I don't love horror. I love thriller. Like I love Hush, which is another one on Netflix that I really, really like.
I got that over there.
So I think I love any genre film that flips what we know on its head.
Yeah.
Both from a narrative perspective, but then also from an aesthetic perspective.
Yeah. You say thrillers, and immediately I tied it in with suspense, and I'm just gonna move my camera and show you. I always have Sir Alfred over my shoulder.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Let me see. I'll kind of angle the camera that way, so he's joining us.
He's with us.
Yes, Sir Alfred, always watching.
Yeah, the first time I ever watched birds was on an airplane.
Oh,
and that might have been one of the worst mistakes I've ever made in my life. I was like, like whoever was sitting beside me definitely.
You're like Tippi Hedren, like.
Oh yeah, I was like birds, no. And I'm in the middle seat in coach. I was like,
oh no,
but I loved the movie, so it worked out.
Yeah, sorry, Prince. It's a standard question, bro. He said, "Oh, you got me on the favorite 4 movie," because he had a question earlier about what your favorite 4 of your favorite films were. So while we're checking in on the chat, Mika said we have that It Follows box set, beautiful design, one of our favorite modern day horror films. Yep. We got James on the check-in from 20th and 21st Movies. Good evening, sir. La La Land and It Follows. Yes. Good choices. Good choices.
Thank you.
Let's see. Back to the questions. These next 2, I need to find alternatives for people who are in the industry, because they don't want to crap on other people's movies.
Oh, I'll do it.
I like you already. All right. So before we get to that onslaught, let's see. Number 3. Name a popular classic movie that everybody loves, but you don't particularly like.
I don't know if this is called a classic yet, because it just came out last summer. But I did not enjoy Barbie.
Really?
To the extent that I thought I would, or I was told I would. Very similarly, I didn't feel that way with Wonder Woman.
The first or the second, or both?
I didn't watch the second. I couldn't do it. The first one. And I love Patty Jenkins. Like, I loved Monsters, again, one of my favorite films. Phenomenal.
I just pulled this right next to it. So
no way. Yeah.
Monsters back there too.
See, we have good movie taste. But I was really disappointed. I went in to be, inspired or have some thought provoking, and I felt what bothered me with Wonder Woman in particular was that Wonder Woman leaves her home full of all of these brilliant, strong, powerful women who are, together in a community, uplifting one another, for a guy she doesn't even know, for Chris Pine. And then the whole reason she becomes Wonder Woman, and I get it, I've lost a lot of people. Grief is incredibly powerful. But you're telling me she only became Wonder Woman because she lost Chris Pine? That does not
I never thought
resonate
of it from that perspective, but
yeah. I was like, there's so much to her. There's so much in her upbringing. There's so much in her surroundings and her sense of self. And I felt like she, like, the movie, obviously, as a comic book lover, I understand what, her costume and her identity, but she runs around so much trying to assimilate to our Western world. She's, half naked and doesn't know anything. And then she only becomes who she is because of a dude. I was like, that's not my vibe. And so that's my thought there. And then with Barbie, I felt like everything was so on the nose, and the people that deserved credit, like Margot Robbie, I'm a huge fan, gargantuan.
Yeah.
And, I found Birds of Prey to be arguably like leaps and bounds more inspiring than Wonder Woman, or even Marvel or Captain Marvel with Brie Larson. What I liked with Captain Marvel is that her love is her friend. It's the friendship. She doesn't do it for a guy. She doesn't do it. She does it for herself and her friends and humanity, So I liked that. But with Barbie, I was waiting for something. I was waiting to be inspired. I was waiting to be challenged. And I didn't feel challenged. What I thought was extraordinary was how all the sets and the effects were practical. I loved that. But even looking at it, I'm like, we're talking about all this Kenergy. And to me, I'm like, great, a straight white dude is the person that we're talking about out of the Barbie movie that was supposed to be so monumentally feminist and driving
it comes down to that speech.
Yeah.
That's
I was
the
like,
moment.
And I just was, I don't know, maybe I set the bar too high.
Maybe.
But it's interesting, even just looking among my friends of people who really enjoyed the movie,
yeah,
who really didn't. And I would say that women who typically really inspire me felt very aligned in not finding it inspiring, which was interesting.
I'm still tripping on the Wonder Woman thing, but go ahead, continue.
No, I just like, and my friend raised a really good point last night. She was like, well, what did you go to see Barbie for? And I was like, to see what everyone told me to see.
Right.
And she was like, I just went to have a good time. And I think if I went into the movie being like, I just want to have a good time, I would have felt very different, because I love Kate McKinnon. I love the dance scenes. I love the big groups. I love Simu Liu. Like, I loved the beach scene, like I Am Beach from Ken. I did. There were moments, but I think I didn't feel like this overwhelming sense of I'm inspired, I can do it. I kind of felt like, wow, this is really depressing. And like, even the joke for me didn't land at the end of the movie. And I don't, for people who didn't spoil, or sorry to spoil it, but she goes in to book her appointment with her gynecologist, and I was like, that's funny, but that shouldn't be difficult for women anymore. We shouldn't be making a joke, because who's that joke for? Because it's not for other women, because we should be empowering women to be making your gyno appointments and to be taking care of your body. It shouldn't be a joke that it's difficult. It should be.
What you said about your friend is exactly the way I felt, because needless to say, I saw it early before any of the hoopla started, and I saw it like the Sunday before it came out. So, before everybody started going to the theaters in pink and all that. For a matter of fact, that Friday when it came out, I think I went to see that terrible Mission Impossible movie. But I think that's what it is, because I'm to the point now when someone says, oh, you got to watch this movie. You got to watch this movie. It's going to change your life, whatever. It's like a bad expectation for me.
Right.
Because I'm like, it changed your life? I got to see this movie.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, not so much. Yeah. But you make me want to go back and watch Wonder Woman now.
Yeah. I mean, there's great cast, there's great performances, but I think I walked out of the theater and I was like, I enjoyed it, but I don't feel empowered.
Right.
Like, and it's interesting. Like, I felt more, complete different segue, but did you watch Top Gun Maverick?
Yes.
I loved that movie. Love. I will watch it over and over again. That should also be in my favorites. And like, even just certain moments where love it. Amazing. I felt more inspired, and primarily a male driven movie, that's an extension of the original.
Yeah.
That's very masculine than I did watching a lot of these female movies.
We
Yeah.
got Brother Dell in the house. A
Yep.
lot of fun, but totally on the nose. I
Yep.
get that.
I agree with you.
We got my friend Mel. What's up?
Hello, Mel.
Hello. Who else on the check-in while I'm here? Some people were talking about Wonder Woman earlier. 84 script was disturbing. It was, because it was like, I'm going to try to go back in time kind of thing. Complete misfire. Dell is a major superhero fan, so
yeah,
there's a lot coming from him. We got my friend Garrett from Born to Be Rad, the Rad Pack.
Hi.
What's up, brother? Thanks for checking in.
Yep.
Let's see. What is Mariah's take on the direction of X-Men 97, where the female character storyline is all about female empowerment?
I think I have to go back and rewatch, to be completely honest, but I think that I can't answer that until I fully watch it. So maybe I have to come back. But thank you for that question.
You're more than welcome to come back. Do you have a favorite series?
Do I have a favorite like TV series?
Maybe means like franchise or whatever.
My favorite film franchise. I would probably have to go with Pirates of the Caribbean as a film franchise, because I love the animation in so much of that, and the special effects and the CGI, which I'm not normally a huge CGI person. Or Indiana Jones. Those are probably TV series. There's so many that I love. I mean, I loved Mindhunter. I loved Bloodline. I love a lot of dark and twisty stuff. I love the first season of True Detective. Don't care for the other ones.
Yeah, it's so good. It's hard to follow up on that.
Totally.
I know they try to change it up every season, but I don't think any of the seasons kind of recaptured what the first season. Yeah. Maybe because it was fresh, it was new, it was a different approach to tropes that we've seen before, but not like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love Unbelievable. That was a hard watch, but a good watch. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden, whenever I'm asked these questions, I'm like, have I ever seen a television before? My brain's like,
I like your answer.
Oh, good. Yeah. I would say if it's, dark and twisty, a thriller, or, I also love, I love Dead to Me, dark comedy. Yes. Love that.
Yes. 6 Feet Under is another one for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Which wasn't about a morgue.
Yep.
Yeah. One more comment on Barbie, and then I have a question for you on Wonder Woman, and we'll move on. Barbie didn't sit totally well with me. I did enjoy it, but at the end of the day, I'm just a caveman. He's a funny dude. Guy's a funny dude. Have you ever seen or heard of the film Professor Marston and His Wonder Woman?
No.
It's about the origin of the Wonder Woman character. It gets a little dark. So I'll tell you again backstage after we're done, but it's interesting. I'll leave it at that.
Very cool. All right.
Yeah, let's flip that question and let's go to number 4. Name a critically hated movie, bad on the Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, that you absolutely love. Do people in the industry really pay attention to stuff like Rotten Tomatoes, past marketing?
I would say I only pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes when my film is trending on Rotten Tomatoes. And then I never, as a viewer, I'm never like, oh, let me go see the Rotten Tomatoes score of a film. I feel badly. We put a lot of weight on that, absolutely, especially when the film's being reviewed. I'm trying to think of a really bad movie. This is the only one that comes to my mind, and I'm very embarrassed, but I feel like Josie and the Pussycat Dolls. That was a movie that I watched growing up, and everyone was like, that movie's terrible. And I was like, I love it.
Very campy. On Rotten Tomatoes currently. So
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. It's like yellow. It's like
what's the worst reviewed? Here, let me look.
Staying Alive, 0.
Oh God.
The sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Oh yeah.
Directed by Sly Stallone. I only know this because I have a friend who's a big fan of that movie. Shout out to you, Huck, out in Cali there. But he's an editor. He does a lot of TV stuff, but he loves that movie. And we had not a podcast, but a live stream talking about kind of like along this line of question, terrible movies or terribly critically hated movies that we love, and he loves Staying Alive, and he won 0. You can't beat 0, so it's a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, and he loves it.
I wonder, like, I loved, I watched it. It's not a terrible movie, but when you look at the special effects, like, I love TCM. And when I go to my parents' house, I definitely watch TCM because they have cable. But just watching some of the older films, like even during Halloween, like, Frankenstein or Jekyll and Hyde. Hold on.
Yeah. All the Universal monster movies.
Yeah, that came out like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde came out 1931. Actually, there's a 1920 version too. So I think like what we would perceive to be so cheesy and campy now, I really enjoy. There's a bunch of movies. I don't know if I can think of the worst movie I've ever seen that I actually enjoyed. I think the worst movie that I wanted to walk out of was this movie I saw at TIFF one year. It was called The Police Officer's Wife. I found it very difficult to watch, boring and slow, and didn't really have a plot that I expected. But then making movies is really hard. So I also understand, like, I credit the filmmakers, just wasn't my film that I wanted to enjoy, So, yeah.
Probably have a couple of comments coming in. Let's see. I'm trying not to miss anybody here. Going back up, Mika says, so awesome to hear someone talk about Unbelievable. This was a great series, great cast. Yeah. Including one of our Toni Collette. Yes, we stand for Toni Collette. Yeah. Hereditary. All that. One we rewatched a couple of times, her and Kira. Good. Yeah. Such powerful storytelling. Yeah, they watch a lot of TV too, as well as movies. Dell adds Professor Morrison and his Wonder Woman is a wild story of the character's creation. It is. It really is. We love Staying Alive. See? It's one of those.
There you go.
So bad it's good movies.
Yep.
I love Jekyll and Hyde. I told you I have immaculate taste.
That's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you like the new Roadhouse, Del? We gotta talk.
I was told not to watch it by people that I really respect, so I didn't watch it. But now, maybe
one of those boxes back there is the original Roadhouse. I think right by my thumb. It's one of my chunky boxes, and my wife and I did a double feature. We watched the OG, and then we fired up Amazon Prime and watched that. That was a mistake. Because you end up doing comparisons. Yeah. Oh, I thought he said Kill My Goats or whatever. Just watch one of the goats, To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes. Great movie. Great movie. Better book. Great movie.
Yep.
All right. Let's land this plane. But before we do, I want to thank everyone in the chat. Thank you. Always add to it. I always say, I'm just a moderator. You guys in the chat are part of this. Of course, our guest is a major part of this, but everyone together makes these conversations for me. That's why I like doing it live. Fantastically stupid, just like the other. I swear what I said. Okay, I get that. It is, especially you add Conor McGregor's character. That was just over the top stupid. But yeah. I want to thank you before we go any further for coming on. I knew it was going to be fun. I knew it was going to be just like this. So I hope you had fun too. So with that in mind, let's land the plane by asking, now that you've been through it, who would you like to see me have a conversation with on this channel?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I could chat about movies all day long. So anytime you need someone to chat about movies, I know you have a whole bunch of friends here. And it was great to meet everybody. I think I would love for you to chat with my friend Mayada Walsh. She is a multi-hyphenate writer, director, actor. She's also a singer-songwriter. She's she has a cool event space in LA, and she's just one of the most creative people I know. And I think your conversations would be really cool. She has a lot of really unique favorite films and projects.
And that alone, I'll have her on for. Sometimes I just want people to come in. We'll do an icebreaker and we'll do like a quick 20, 25 minute, just nothing but 5 takes. I had too many questions for you just to ask you 5 takes, but
I'll come on next time. You're going to ask me more, but thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I had so much fun.
Yes. Um, I was waiting for Caveman. We mentioned too many movies for Caveman not to tell
Oh,
us. Professor Morrison and Wonder Woman is on Freebie, just FYI. He's good for that. He's good for telling you where you could go and stream the movie, so you don't have to buy it. You don't have to look
there
for
you
it.
go.
He's the Just Watch app of my chat room. So
Hey, that is a good friend to have.
thank you. Ooh, Prince. The question, beautiful question.
Hmm.
You have a person that you would die to work with. Who's your dream collaboration?
Oh, that's it doesn't matter in what capacity, like as an actor, as a writer, director, multi-hyphenate.
Shoot, shoot.
I would love to work with Carol Burnett. I think that would be really, really cool and really, really fun. Yeah, totally. Um, I I mean, everyone wants to work with Marty Scorsese. I would love to work with Viola Davis. Like I would crawl over broken glass. I think or Octavia Spencer. Um, and Octavia Spencer's producing more too, which is exciting.
Mm.
There's so many people, but I think for I to land on just one, I it's really difficult, but I think any one of those for sure.
Good choices,
Yeah.
especially Uncle Marty.
Yeah.
We stand
Oh,
hard for Uncle Marty here. So
right? We do. He's so versatile.
yeah.
I mean, the 3 hour movies, it's weird. What Casino's like 2 hours and 59 minutes or something. I don't think it's quite three on the dot,
Hmm.
but I can watch that no problem. And The Irishman, I found it really, I had to almost break it up.
Yeah. It's something you could watch in episodes.
Yeah,
I went to a screen of it, so I wanted to see it on the big screen. I'm like, it's
totally.
Scorsese. You want to see it? Oh my
Yeah,
god! But I didn't feel the length sitting there because I was into the story. But
totally.
you mentioned Scorsese, and I just so happen to have my
Oh,
triple pack because
amazing.
I just upgraded this.
Nice.
Not my favorite, but it is up there. So I
Yeah.
went from the Blu-ray to the 4K Steelbook.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, this
Very,
is
very nice.
brand new from Warner Brothers.
Yep.
But yeah, I last year I went through a little journey of trying to collect all of his filmography that's on physical. So yeah,
Yeah,
we love Uncle Marty.
we do. We do.
Um,
And
yeah,
we love what he's doing to preserve film. You
yes,
know,
I
that's
think
I
that's
think
so
huge.
important.
Yeah, and not I don't feel like he's celebrated for that enough. I think the younger generation, which I understand I'm a part of, even though I feel like I'm 85 on the inside most days. But like,
Professionally older.
thank you. But like, we we're so lucky to get to do what we do. You know, whether make movies, watch movies, talk about movies, review movies. You know, but we won't be able to do that if we don't preserve our past. And you know, looking at film and the negatives and just even just the opportunity to recolor films is incredible, you know, or
Mhm.
to digitize our work. You know,
Mhm.
everyone's so excited about when a Disney movie is re-released from the vault, but we're not necessarily celebrating the intricacies and difficulties that are required and you know needing to happen to preserve our old movies to you know propel us forward. So
Yeah,
I love
I
what he's
think that's another reason why a lot of us are physical media collectors because when those restorations happen, they might bring them out for a day or a week in
yeah,
theaters, but we want to get that preservation. So we want that,
totally.
40th this year, 40th anniversary edition of Purple Rain and Nightmare on Elm Street and, various things like that,
Yeah,
16 Candles, whatever the case may be. But, they're doing stuff preserving films that we thought were totally lost. So
right.
like a 19, I want to say 18 or 21 Dante's Inferno or
Hmm.
a lot of things like that there's
Yeah,
no way we can get a fully watchable copy of unless it's
yeah,
digitized and preserved and everything like that. And there's a lot of boutique companies doing that and studios are doing that too. So we need people who are championing that effort because there's so much lost. These people in the chat don't want us to stop. They're,
oh,
they're asking different questions. If you got a few more minutes, I'll run.
I do, yeah.
Okay. Favorite movie score?
Jaws, that's the first one that came to my I yeah, Jaws.
It's back
That's like,
there somewhere. I keep moving it around.
I
It's
didn't
back
even think
there.
about it, that just flew out of my mouth.
5 Canadian actors, actresses.
Ooh, okay.
Favorites.
No pressure. I got to shout out my friends here. Morgan Cohen, she's a star of Sullivan's Crossing, which is an awesome drama that's now going into its second season.
Nice.
I love her. I love, oh my gosh, Marshall Williams. He's also wonderful and amazing. He's in Pamela and Ivy. All of a sudden, Alona McRae, another phenomenal Canadian actress who has done a ton of American work, Russian Doll, Law and Order. Nahani Johnstone. She plays my mom in Disconnected. She has been absolutely everything under the sun. She, you know, from Orange is the New Black to Law and Order. Incredible. Josh Crudez. I love him too. He's a very good friend of mine, multi-talented. He's polar. He's in everything too. And he's a composer. So he's one of those people that's just like so talented at everything. You're like, what? So
yeah. And she didn't name Ryan Reynolds. Look at that. It's
I guess I could have said famous people. My friends are famous though. They're cool.
Yeah. And you didn't have to go Van City. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I guess I could have, but everyone talks about them. I want to. I'm very proud of them and very inspired by them.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman. That's fine, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you, Kate.
Prince has one last question. What makes a movie so great to the point you'll never get tired of watching it over and over? That's a great question.
I think that is a really great question. I think it has to do with whatever feeling it invokes in you. You know, I think about, for me, there's a sense of hope and a sense of identity that comes with La La Land. I think probably because of the career choice I've chosen that I can go back and watch it over and over again and not get tired. Same with Sunset Boulevard, same with Good Will Hunting, same with The Grinch. You know, there's feelings or memories associated with watching that. It's kind of like, think about the films you watch during the holidays. You know, if you celebrate Christmas, you know, there's certain films that you just go back to, or maybe at Halloween you watch the same films. You know, and what is that? What makes those? You know, we start to build traditions with film, with art. You know, and so I think for me, like, there's certain films that, or even a show, like when we're talking about shows, I watched Freaks and Geeks for the first and only time in its entirety with a friend of mine who's passed away. And, you know, now when I think about that, it like, I love that show, but I'm going to cry. It like represents a time in my life that I don't have access to anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but I love that show. And when I hear about it, I'm like, oh my God, you know, it makes me laugh. It makes me happy. Don't worry, I won't cry right now, but
okay. But I think you should get yourself a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
Get yourself a copy of Freaks and Geeks. And if you can't find it, I'll send you mine.
Thank you. Okay. Sounds like a deal.
Greatest anxiety reliever of all time. You're right. It is. I love movies. Yeah, I'm with you, Brother Dell. Purple Rain. Can't wait for that 4K.
It's so true. And just as a side note, with Purple Rain, you know, when I was competing, obviously I did ski racing and I did cheerleading. And one year the song we would walk out to and compete with was Purple Rain. And as you know, my company GTE stands for Jerry Turner Entertainment. Jerry was my grandpa. Garfield Turner was one of my best friends and teammates. Both have since passed away. And that year with Purple Rain was my last year on a team with Garfield. And so whenever I hear that, I'm like vibing and having the best time. And, you know, I just associate Prince with my friendship.
That's awesome.
So I'm very, I think that's, you know, to circle back, you hear a song, you hear a movie, you can go back to it because it transports you to a time and can either re-inspire you or remind you of things that, you know, in your world.
I remember like songs with places or people or whatever. All right. Couple more because they keep coming in. Okay. Have you seen The Crow?
No, I don't think so.
You need to. Before the remake comes out. I think Bill Skarsgård is going to bring his own.
It came out the year I was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Comes out tomorrow. Let's see. Oh. Have you seen Gerald's Game?
Yes, I did see Gerald's Game. Yeah.
Ooh.
That was intense.
That's another one we stand for.
Yep.
With Gina.
Very, very intense.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I'm blanking. What's another? I just watched Basic Instinct for the very first time this year. Phenomenal film. Yeah, and I was like, ooh. That's another film for me. Like I love, there you go. And Fatal Attraction. I watched kind of all of these thrillers, female-driven thrillers, where I was like, ooh, where is she? You know, she's crazy.
Since you mentioned it earlier.
Yep. And I love Carla Gugino. So
yeah.
And The Fall of the House of Usher.
So good, especially if you know Edgar Allan Poe and you get the connections
So good.
episode by episode.
Yep.
I was a big Poe fan when I was younger, so like I kind of knew what was coming because I saw how true Mike Flanagan was being to the story. He's such a great creator.
He is.
Shout out to him, man.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
great.
everything. I mean, Hush. Him and his wife created Hush, Kate. You know, like that's a. So good.
Canadian YouTubers for you to check out. Yeah, Tiana loves movies. She was in here. John from Flat X2. That's right. He is Canadian.
I'm gonna write them down. Hold on.
Flat X2 and Tiana loves movies. I'll put these back while you write that down because Batman can't fall to the back.
And just for my Canadians in the house who are also YouTubers, I produce and direct the award show for Buffer Festival, which is a YouTube festival in Canada. It's usually held in October, November every single year. So check it out. We have a lot of fun programming, for YouTubers, but also for Canadian creators through Digital for Canada. So a little pitch.
You mentioned TIFF before. I was supposed to get up there and hang out with my friends and go, but COVID, long COVID, and I'll try again some other time.
Yeah.
All right. I think we ran Prince out. He said, let's wrap this up like a taco. Love you too, bro. Thank you. He keeps trying to type Miss Owen, but it comes out as Gwen.
I like the name Gwen. You can call me Gwen.
Yeah. And that's your new bar name when you go out. Hey, what's your name? Gwen.
Perfect. I'm Gwen. I'll create like my own persona. Maybe I'll like wear my hair up or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that. Freaks and Geeks is on Hulu and Paramount. There you go. Thank you. Hot take. Prince is the villain in Purple Rain. You are absolutely right.
It's true.
With the exception of How's the Family. That was the only bad line. More Freaks and Geeks love here. Where is it? There we go. You haven't seen The Crow, Adrian? Check it out or pick up the 4K tomorrow when it comes out.
There you go.
Let's see. Yeah, Flanagan is a master storyteller. I pretty much love everything he puts out.
Yeah.
Some more than others. Yeah. All right. We're going to try to wrap this up again.
Amazing.
New friend, thank you for joining us tonight. This has been amazing. I'll put back your tagline up there. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me everywhere at Mariah Owen, on Instagram, all platforms. And I'm really, really excited and grateful to be here and chat about movies. So my production company is GTE Productions. You can follow us, GTE Productions Inc., or find us online, gteproductionsinc.com. You can go find me, mariahowen.com, Instagram, Twitter, if we still call it Twitter, call it X, TikTok. I'm everywhere. Yeah. But Instagram is by far my favorite and probably the best way to interact and engage with me. So thank you for having me, KB. You are a legend, and we got to go watch movies.
Yes, that's what I always tell people. Go watch a movie. So thanks again for being on, and for everyone else.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.